imagination, empathy, creativity, confidence, a sense of humor. Oh, and a voice. Basically any voice. Do you have any of these things? Do any of these things sound remotely like you? Well, that's perfect because you're the perfect candidate to become a voice actor. Congratulations and welcome to the new and improved How to Be a Voice Actor course. This is lesson number 1 of 4. And we're going to give you tips and tricks to develop your voice, your performance, and maybe your many voices. Who knows what you're going to do. Now, a lot of things are going to be really awkward if you're just starting out and you've never done this before, especially with new actors. But we're going to try to break the ice with some fun antics and some scripts to really get everyone talking in the privacy of your own home, where hopefully no one else can hear you. Or can they? Never mind. I'm going to tell you the complete truth during this 4-session course. I'm going to give you everything. I'm going to tell you a lot of things that most other voice talents will not tell you. And I'm going to tell you a few other things that you won't hear in any other acting class as well. So listen closely. This is it. This is the truth. These are the secrets to success, really. You pay attention and follow these secrets, then you're going to do really well in this industry. You'll have an edge over most of the other people who are getting in without knowing this stuff. Now, voice acting itself, it's a crazy, competitive, convoluted, sometimes very lucrative industry for adult and child voice actors. You might think voice acting is really a bunch of adults who do cartoon and child voices. Well, there's great news. That's not necessarily true. There's a place for kids in the voice acting industry as well. There's still a major demand in American animation and really for global animation and voice acting for authentic voices for child actors whenever possible. If you've seen basically any animated television series or a whole bunch of kid movies made by Disney, you've probably heard voice work done by real child actors. These aren't necessarily adults pretending to be children. A lot of women take these roles. Not necessarily guys, because guys have a more difficult time sounding like a child. But in a lot of these cases, a lot of these are really children voice actors like you. And you could be the next person featured in one of those big name studio projects. Some child actors do both on camera and voice acting. Some do one or the other. Basically, you can do whatever you think fits your lifestyle or your talent or whatever your goals are. Competitively, voice acting isn't really much different than any other form of acting. I mean, voice acting training's a little different from on-camera training. And there are teachers and coaches who specialize specifically in voice work. And there's voice talent agents, online casting sites that specifically recruit voice artists and voice actor professionals. But since a lot of the industry is now turning to work from home, there's a lot more people competing for the same jobs. But I'm not saying that to scare you. I just want you to know that, realize that even though there are more people, the cream always rises to the top. If you've got great skill, then you're going to do really well. People who take courses like this definitely have an edge, so you're already in the right place. Now, some kids and parents think that puberty is the end of a kid's voice career. That's not necessarily true. I've worked with a few kids who have gone through the change, and they can still, some of them can still manage to pull off the young version of their voice with a little practice. And now they've got a new voice. They've got a whole new segment of voices to work with as well. So, all right, let's set the ground rules for these 4 lessons. Number 1, this is a judgment-free zone. Art is and always has been and always will be entirely subjective, no matter what any producer or any big companies tell you. So basically, you do you. There is no right, there is no wrong, and no one else can do what you do. So your voice is yours. It's unique. It's awesome. Somebody out there is going to love it. Someone out there, some producer, some casting director, some agent is probably right now looking for a voice exactly like yours and is willing to pay you to use your voice in their project. It's a true fact. Number 2, there are no dumb questions. Only people dumb enough not to ask questions. No one knows everything. I don't know everything. I learn something every day, and if I don't know the answer, I'll find it. I have people, so feel free to ask away. Number 3, this is an agency-free zone. I am not a voice talent agent. I don't own an agency. I don't work for one. I can't do any magical agenty things. You need an expensive license in the state of Florida where I live, and it's really not my gig. We let the business types handle that sort of thing, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, what an agent does as well. Number 4, there's no promises. I can't and I won't promise you the moon and the stars. Some of you will make it big, and one of you might be the next big thing in voiceovers. And some will decide to do other things for whatever reason. And like anything else in life, sometimes the stars just don't line up no matter how talented you are. But it's really up to you and your persistence and how hard you want to work at this. Number 5, no one else can promise you the moon and the stars either, no matter what they tell you. No teacher, no online company, no one can promise that you'll get any paying voiceover gig ever. Unless, of course, they're related to J.J. Abrams or Jeff Bezos, and then, hey, if you know those guys, give me a call. And number 6, not really a rule, but why are you here? Look, I'm happy you're here. It's great to see you, but why are you here? Well, here's what I hear a lot. Why do people pursue voice acting? One of these might be you, one of them might not be you. A, my mom told me I have a great voice and I should be a voice actor. B, I can perfectly sound like that cartoon voice I heard in the movies. C, voice actors make millions of dollars. Or D, it looks so easy. You know, all these things are great reasons to be here, and there's at least a little bit of truth of each of them, to be honest, but there ain't no magic dust in Hollywood, my friends. It's all smoke and mirrors. But you've got to ask yourself these 3 questions before you endeavor to become a professional voice talent. Number 1, have you ever sold anything professionally? Number 2, do you have thick skin? And number 3, are you willing to practice, and probably work for free for a while? These are real considerations you have to think about before you jump into this full force and decide you want to be a voice actor. Honestly, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of frustration, a lot of rejection, a lot of ghosting, and a constant chase for the same gig that hundreds or sometimes even thousands of other talented people are chasing as well. So as long as you know that, you keep that in perspective, and you have realistic expectations, hey, the world's yours for the taking. You're going to do real well. Number 7, barriers have fallen. Yes, you can do this from your home. And with the pandemic thing, it's now encouraged to work from home, and that's great. And with today's powerful computers and digital audio interfaces, a decent microphone and a little skill, you can record great sounding voices that are heard globally. I used to have a professional studio, but now I work out of a quiet bedroom, to be honest with you, and my stuff sounds better than ever. And a lot of my stuff's running all over the world, from New York to China, and heard by millions of people all over the globe. So it can be done. Number 8, you're going to need to find your voice. You have more than one voice. And all types of voices are in demand. Squeaky voices, male, female, child voices, young voices, old voices, deep voices, scratchy, weird voices, accented voices. They're all wanted and are all desired, especially for commercial character work, which is growing by the day. And we'll tell you why shortly. Also, you need to ask yourself, can you sing? Can you act? These are important considerations when you're developing one of your voices or many voices. Maybe you have a calm and soothing voice, like a cool ocean breeze, a soft wind gently rustling the wavy tips of my hair. Or maybe you have a concerned voice. I just realized my feet really smell. I mean bad. I hope no one noticed that at the nail salon. Or your angry voice. I can't believe my stupid brother borrowed my sneakers and walked through all that mud. Your sad voice. Poor Matt. All he has is those orange and green clown shoes, and everyone makes fun of him. Your hero voice. Know what? I'll buy Matt some new shoes, just like mine, and he'll be able to hold his head up proudly. Or your villain voice. But first, Matt will need to do a few chores for me. My toilet is especially dirty this month. You, yourself, you have a whole bunch of voices. All you need to do is dig deep, find them, practice them, develop them. and you will have a stable of all kinds of crazy voices that you can sell to people who need voices like yours. So it's a wide open field. It's endless. It's amazing, and it's a great gig and a lot of fun. So people ask me all the time, Chuck, is voice acting easier than theater? And some people think it's easier than theater. In a lot of ways it is, because you don't have to worry about wardrobe, hair, and makeup. Zits, who cares? They can't see you. The thing is, depending on the director, voice acting can be actually more challenging than other types of acting. You won't have the luxury of body or facial expressions to emphasize your lines. It's really you and your voice. And sometimes you'll only have lines to read because the animation hasn't been finalized yet, or it's still secret. Or whatever you're doing, you have nothing graphically to assist you. So you're kind of making it up on the fly. So sometimes you'll need to completely paint the character and the scene in your head. And the problem is, the scene you painted may be vastly different from the scene your director painted in her mind. And that's where it can get kind of weird. So voice work requires a crazy imagination so you can paint those mental images of the character and the background scenery in your mind. And you're going to need super confidence so you won't feel stupid creating strange voices for characters like animals or even aliens. You need to know how to act so you can remove you from you and totally immerse yourself in someone else's world exactly the way they envisioned it. And it's not always easy to do. And versatility is very important. You should have an entire stable of voices and characters that you can drop at will, like a younger voice, maybe a little older sounding voice, a funny voice, the angry voice, the sarcastic voice, the sad voice, and a ridiculous voice too. The more, the better. A lot of directors will close their eyes and they'll listen to your delivery. And believe me, once a director closes her or his eyes, you're in trouble. She's probably not seeing the same mental images that you are. So you need to be ready to change your approach immediately. So actually, voice acting can be more difficult than stage or film acting in that respect. So your stage, what will that look like as a voice actor? Well, it's going to be a tiny, dark, padded room with this giant silver thing hanging in front of your nose, and a set of nasty headphones that are probably broken and 3 sizes too big for you. And you'll be all alone in that room, locked in the room. It's kind of dark with someone yelling instructions loudly in your headphones. Hey, can you do that line again? And you can't bounce your lines off someone else like you can in the theater or in the visual mediums because you're by yourself. They probably won't be. The people you're working with or the other actors probably won't be in that booth at the same time you are. They're typically recorded individually. And there's no phones, no distractions, no noise. You can't sneeze, cough, burp, or the other smelly thing either. The smell will never leave, believe me. And also, don't be surprised if you're cast for multiple roles in the same production to save a little bit of money in production costs. Remember, those voices will need to sound like they're really different voices. So what kind of person becomes a voice actor? Well, basically really smart people. I mean, actors have to be pretty smart since acting requires lightning fast thinking and a lot of memory retention. You'll need to take that director's comments and instantly apply them to the character you're voicing without slipping back into exactly what your director told you not to do. And sometimes you'll need to memorize some of your lines for the best possible acting. And this way, even though no one else can see you, you can use your body to really bring your character alive. The best voice actors really convey emotion and physical motion with their voices. So basically, any actor will develop an extreme level of focus, and you may already have that. And being able to concentrate on one task and do it insanely well is very important. You know, this level of focus can help you at school or at work too. And especially when you're in those strange teen years, acting can help alleviate some of that stress you feel. It can actually create an outlet for it. You've heard of acting out, I'm sure. Voice actors actually get paid to do it, which is nice. So how do I prepare myself to become a voice actor? Well, the best way to learn about acting is to watch great kid actors in successful cartoons, films, and TV shows. Watch their faces and their mannerisms as they cycle through various emotions. And more importantly, listen closely to their voices. Close your eyes. when you're watching something. It's really awkward at first. And don't watch the show, listen to it, even though it's TV or a movie or a cartoon. Listen to their cadence or rhythm. We'll talk about these terms soon. Listen to the speed of their speech during different scenes. Listen to how they start, pause, or adjust the volume of their voices in different acts. Sometimes when I was starting out, I'd close my eyes and listen to a movie or a show, and it really begins the process of painting those visuals in your mind. You're going to see something completely different. I mean, don't cheat. Let's close your eyes when you start it out, and you're going to imagine this whole different scenery, and it's really cool because you're actually painting your own movie in your mind. It's a really cool exercise to do. Now, there's a lot of acting coaches that mine did this too. They gave me this awkward list of the top 10 movies that every actor should watch. I'm going to tell you the truth. Save yourself 20 hours of complete boredom and misery and ignore those lists. Most of those films are boring and probably older than your great-great-grandmother. And completely irrelevant in today's market with the way we speak and act today. Everything's changed. I recommend you watch shows and movies that are popular because they are popular. That's what people want. And stuff that you like. There's more than enough material in those, quality material in those. Plus, it's not torturous. And practice, practice, practice. Try new voices every single day. Play with telemarketers. Freak out drive-through people and waitresses. Heck, you can even try them on your family and friends. I used to prank call people I knew to try out different voices. The more you act, the better you'll get, and the less silly you'll feel. It's all about building confidence. So how do you develop confidence and presence? Acting training with the right coach will definitely help build confidence. The most difficult thing that most voice actors do is really to take a chance on a voice or character that they've never tried before. But this voice training, this acting training, exposes you to all sorts of weird and awkward roles and scenarios. So once you've gone through all that, really nothing's ever really new or unexpected again. And you're naturally more confident because, hey, I've done something like this before. So really, confidence is all about familiarity. So if you've seen or done something before, you're going to be more confident and ready to attack something unknown the best you can. So your goal is really to become larger than life, to be able to stop people in their tracks when they hear your voice. And that's how you'll know that you're ready to conquer the world. Even in voice acting, all acting involves studying the thoughts and emotions of other people. Now, you can't be them if you don't know them. And you can't be someone else unless you understand how other people behave. I mean, it's easy to be you, but it's a little more tough to be somebody else. So becoming a character requires you to step out of yourself, remove yourself from yourself, and take on an entirely different personality that will clearly be heard in the voice that you're choosing to speak with. And many people will tell you, oh, just be yourself. Well, it's great advice if you're a celebrity on reality television or you're getting paid to play someone or something else. But, you know, I think it's really terrible advice for an actor to be yourself because you're being paid not to be yourself. I know that sounds kind of weird just in this scenario. In most cases, it's good to be yourself, but as a voice actor, you definitely want to step out of that shell, and it's okay not to be yourself. Just, bring yourself back home. You know what I mean? Some method actors, you've probably read about this or heard about this, they'll actually, when they're on a movie set, they'll become their character. Like they will live as that character. They will try to act and live and breathe and eat and talk and be exactly like that character while they're on the movie set, so they don't lose their role, their idea, their performance, their consistency. And so really in acting, it's okay to be someone else, but we always remind people not to lose yourself. Always come home to you at the end of the day or at the end of the project. So auditions. What about auditions? They're excellent practice. I mean, clients are feeding you real world scripts. Even if you're not, and you're not suited for the particular part, I recommend to read scripts for auditions and record them anyway. The more you practice, the more comfortable you'll become, the more experience you'll get, and the more confidence you'll develop. Again, you'll run into all these situations, and once you've done it, you've done it. And once you see it again, it's familiar, and you're going to be super confident and larger than life. I hear all the time, So I decided to include this now, something called a momager. And it could be a dadager too, but the momager is the most common thing. So here's how the hierarchy works in the voice talent business, in case you're new to this. Basically, there's a production company. They hire a casting director who's in charge of picking the people who are going to get hired to perform the voice acting. So the casting director floats the role and its requirement to some board or to a network of talent agents that he or she knows. So talent agents are the people who negotiate contracts, do all the messy stuff with your manager. And talent agents contact talent managers. That's typically how it goes. So in many cases, your parents will be your manager. The agent will call your mom and say that you should audition for the role if it fits. So she essentially is your manager or your momager. In many cases, they're going to be the person who's broker. You're probably not going to talk to anybody. Everything's going to go through the momager or mom or dad. And you're just going to be told where to be and what to do and fed scripts and, hey, maybe rock and roll from there. Easy life, right? They're worrying about all the business end of it. That's the hard part. And then there's you, the future superstar award-winning voice actors. That's kind of how the hierarchy goes downhill. So, again, when you're just starting out, momager is going to be scouring the internet, looking for work that your agent might not know about. So momager will set up your auditions, help you rehearse, and drive you to auditions. She's pretty important. And when you get to be the big time and you're hearing your voice all over the radio and on the Disney Channel, well, then it's probably time to say, hey, momager, it's time to hire a professional management company because we should be making a whole lot more money. I mean, some of the managers are on point. Some of the momagers are on point. But until mom and dad will probably do a spectacular job. Some kids need to remind their momagers not to scold or criticize their clients. That's you, in front of casting directors. Some of them get a little too much into it. I know your parents are probably extremely cool and they won't have this problem, but just keep that in the back of your head because no one likes a crazy momager, okay? Sometimes we need to remind our momagers that, hey, let's just kind of be cool. And so tell momager she can save her criticism for after the audition, maybe when you're in the car on the way home. All right, so location. What if I'm in Montana, Hannah? That's what we call this segment. So it's no secret that most professional voice work for kids and grown-ups is in New York or LA. Other studios pop up in Atlanta, Houston, Miami, Chicago, and some other places, but the big guns are always going to be in New York and LA. And those directors for the big-time studios tend to want your face in the place. They want to look at you. They want to be there. But the pandemic thing has kind of loosened things up a little bit, meaning more people can work from home or a digitally connected studio close to your home, but still they're probably going to want you to come to New York or LA at some point for the big gigs, and that's just how it is. But before you run out there, build your craft as locally as you can while you're waiting for your big break. You probably don't want to go to New York or LA and audition at first until you're really confident and you've got several jobs under your belt and you know exactly what you're doing. So I recommend to audition for everything, no matter where you are, because a lot of these auditions are online. So even if you're in Montana, who cares? They don't know that. You're just going to throw it out there, and you never know what comes back. You never know which jobs you're going to score. A lot of jobs online are managed by online brokers like Fiverr.com, and there's several other ones as well. And even if you're in the most remote place, I always encourage people to take advantage of all the resources that your community has to offer, like local theater and school plays, school news or television broadcasts, anything that really gets you out of your shell and speaking publicly. You can even create your own podcast or YouTube channel because that's all great practice at speaking and developing characters and performances. So there's always summer programs, I think even in the smallest towns. And ours has one. It's small, cheesy, and it's always kind of terrible, but it's great practice for a lot of kids who are building their craft. You can find a local agent and audition for local television commercials. There's several websites like Casting Networks, Backstage, and like a billion more that constantly advertise projects that are casting in your area. Sometimes even major motion pictures and television shows will film in small towns, even like yours, and they'll cast locally for extras, sometimes even small speaking roles, and that's awesome. Many big time actors have broken into the industry by attending local casting calls, so it's possible. If you have a mid-sized market within driving distance, you might want to consider doing that. Just driving out there. We're near Orlando, and there's always something big and fun going out in Orlando. All right, mall scams. We have to talk about that. So many shopping areas, community centers, and even schools sometimes offer something called a model and talent search or something along those lines. And unfortunately, most of them, not all of them, are scams. They'll make all sorts of weird promises and ask you for a bunch of money to take headshots, maybe offer you some training and lure you into paying subscription fees that never end to list you on their website that nobody really looks at. And a lot of wannabe actors fall for this. But remember, the people who put on these shows are actors too, so you see where I'm getting at here? So always remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. But there are exceptions. There are genuinely good talent agencies out there who will tell you the truth and point you in the right direction and not make promises they can't keep. So keep that in mind too, but keep your eyes open. Getting ready for audition. So a great way to start out as a voice actor is to have a few scripts already memorized and well rehearsed. Maybe a story that takes your audience or your casting director on a short journey from one place to another. Kind of goes through different emotions. This shows that you can transition well. Your scripts or your lines can be something that you wrote completely by yourself, or you can borrow from popular movies or books or stories that everyone knows. Some directors during auditions have been known to put you on the spot, probably in front of several other people, and ask you to wow them. And that can get really hairy if you're not prepared. But if you're prepared, man, you take advantage of that and you wow them, and you're probably going to end up with a role. Those who are prepared with some of their own material usually win the parts. So some acting coaches call these monologues, kind of like what the late night television hosts do at the beginning of every show. So your monologues should really feel natural to you, like you're telling a personal story from memory. It's fun to tell and even more fun to act out. It should be the kind of character that you envision yourself playing. Maybe it's your favorite movie or cartoon character. Maybe it's something you came up with in your own head. Maybe it's a hybrid of many famous characters or classic lines from movies or cartoons. It doesn't really matter. The best monologues are journeys that take you from one emotion or place to another. So take your audience on a short journey. Do something, start out really happy and then go sad and then end up happy again. Whatever it is, make it yours, memorize it, rehearse the heck out of it, and have a lot of fun with it. You can speak to an audience, to an invisible character, or you can just talk to yourself. It doesn't matter. It depends what the situation is. There's really no rules for these things. The point is just make sure it's short. About a minute is usually enough. It's great. A minute. It's not a lot of time, a lot to rehearse and a lot to work on, but just enough time to show them what you can do, what you're capable of. 2 minutes tops, maybe. If a casting director wants to hear more, she'll ask for more. So make sure you've got enough material to show you've got depth. Maybe rehearse 2 or 3 monologues. And you decide, based on the role you're auditioning for, which one suits the best. And then you always got some backup material just in case they ask you. So blow their socks off, because sometimes you only get one shot. And man, just let them have everything and do the best you absolutely can. But memorize them if you can, as close as you can. You can ad-lib too. If you do improv, you can make things up, something that's relevant maybe to the role you're working on. So there's all kinds of avenues you can do there. But just remember, once you're in that audition situation, you want to do the best you absolutely can because you want that role. Character development. The most important thing any actor can do is to get to know the character that you're playing intimately. And the best way to do that is to read the script in advance several times, in several sittings. Don't do it all in a row. Read it, digest it, live with it for a little bit, and then come back to it later on. You may only have sides from a script. Sides are just a few pages carefully selected for auditions to give a casting director an idea if you're right for the role. Sometimes there's just not enough information to really dig in and learn the character, so you've got to read between the lines and just guess the best you can. They're looking for you to do this. They want to see, how far your imagination goes. So as you're reading, look for indications of the character's personality that you can emulate or copy. Is your character supposed to be confident, insecure, popular, introverted, sad, a combination of many personalities, a little scary. There might be a line in the script that will help you understand your character more deeply. So what does this tell you about your character? Say his name's Jack. What does this tell you about Jack? I'm going to read you a line here from a side. Snow. Oh my God, Mom, Dad, it's snow. It's actually a white Christmas, just like on TV. Jack's hazel eyes lit up like a pair of supernova stars when he saw what Mr. Hecht had done. So what do you think? Is he young? Is he old? Is he serious? Is he fun? Is he wide-eyed and bushy-tailed? You kind of have to read between the lines because sometimes that's all you've got, and you have to figure out who this character is and then create that mental image around it and act it out as best you can and try to hope that you're matching what that casting director is looking for. Again, sometimes it's hard. Regardless of how much information you have, using logic and common sense, confidently make some decisions about each aspect of your character. Think about how they would talk. Do they have an accent? Do they have a loud or a quiet voice? Maybe even a lisp. How would they move their face when they talk? How would they stand or walk? Now, you can't always know what a director has in mind, but just do the best you can with the information that you do have. And don't be afraid to take some chances. They can always bring you back. Hey, adjust this a little bit for me. And who knows, by that point, you've probably nailed it and got the role. Memorization paralysis. I'm not going to lie. I can't memorize hardly anything. I never have been able to do that. Maybe it's my ADD, my ADHD, ABC, NBC, MTV, who knows? I've just never been able to do it. No matter how hard I try, lines always come out different. Maybe it's because I'm a writer and I do improv and my brain's always trying to rewrite other people's stuff. So that's a huge no-no. You never want to do that. But thankfully, as a voice actor, I have the luxury of printed scripts to read from. So it's no big deal for me. But there are a few ways that you can learn to memorize scripts if that's what you want to do. And again, your monologues, at least the points, the key takeaways from your monologue, you should memorize those. And I could probably do that, and I'm sure you can too. So repetition is king. You've got to read your lines over and over. Record yourself while you're doing it so you'll be able to play them back and hear them again. And pull yourself away from the written script gradually, and then keep watching the recording to make sure that you've read the script correctly. Some people need partners to work with. Some people can do it alone. See what works for you. There are even apps that can help you rehearse scripts. Some people use something called a teleprompter. Right, so the audition process. This is probably the most stressful part of becoming a voice actor. It's the audition. There's a lot of pressure. So let me paint a picture for you for an average audition. So in person, if you're auditioning in person, which could still happen, you'll be sitting in this boring, nondescript meeting room in some office building. Usually looks like a doctor's waiting room with a bunch of chairs around the outside. So you're going to wait sometimes up for hours with a lot of other people who are probably competing for the same exact role as you are. I don't know why this is. It's always strangely quiet in these rooms, and most people don't talk with each other. It's a really weird situation sometimes. I'm not going to lie. So the key thing, you're going to be sitting, sometimes for hours. And these things tend to run late a lot. And if you're a kid like me, you don't like to sit, especially for hours, in a boring room where nobody talks to you. So what can you do? You can be smart. You can be prepared to sit in a boring room for 2 hours or 3 hours. You can't really walk out because you never know when they're going to call you back to audition. So if you have to use the facilities, make sure mom or dad knows where you are so they can listen for your name to be called. Wear layers in case it's cold. With some of these rooms, they go a little crazy with the air conditioning. And bring some water and some light snacks in a backpack. I mean, don't bring like a sloppy burger you're going to get all over your shirt. Just, chips or pretzels or something. And read something. Watch a movie on your phone or play a game. But use headphones because you don't want to destroy the room, you know what I mean? This makes the waiting so much better. You've got something to do and you're ready to wait for several hours. So now that I've told you this, you won't have to be so frustrated because waiting in a room, in a quiet room, can get really eerie, especially your first couple auditions because you don't know what to expect. But now you do, and you're going to be ready for it, so it won't be as bad. Having something to do is going to take your mind off auditioning so you can relax. There's a chance somebody before you didn't show up, so you could be called in early, so you never know. But if you're late, that always looks bad, and you can potentially lose your slot if you're late for an audition, so don't do that. Online audition's a whole lot easier because you're probably at home or in a tightly scheduled slot in an expensive studio. So that means no waiting. So at home, using a home studio, you can be much more relaxed. So if it's a pre-recorded audition, you can do it whenever you want, as long as they receive it by whatever deadline they set. Some people say it's better to be first in line and to send the auditions in first, meaning some people will hire the first person they hear, but that is not typical. I've had success both ways. One of my clients told me he only listens to the final 10 auditions because he thinks these are the people who really don't need the work. So they're probably going to be a little more experienced, a little more confident. So mine, in this case, was one of the final 10, and I got the gig. In that case, he was right, but that's an exception, and he's a little weird anyway. That's definitely not the norm. So you never know what's going to happen. People are basically unpredictable. Or you might have a Skype, Zoom, FaceTime, or even a telephone audition. In that case, they'll usually call you when they're ready. If they run behind, you're just going to have to sit around and wait for the phone to ring because you don't want to miss the call. So that can be a little stressful too. But same deal sitting in the boring office. Make sure you've got something to do, keep you busy. Have some water, snacks, and you do you. And just make sure you can hear the phone or your computer when they do call. So if you're going to an on-site audition in one of these creepy boardrooms, you can do a few things to be ready. You can pack some dry shampoo. Even though it's a voice acting gig, they're going to be looking at you and people are extremely judgmental. So dry shampoo can freshen up your hair on the go. And if you're a girl, don't forget bobby pins, a hairbrush, maybe some hairspray. If you're going to do a dance audition, it could happen. Bring some deodorant. And you might not have the opportunity to shower. So think about it, just use some deodorant. And if you have room, think about bringing a toothbrush and some toothpaste to keep your pearly white and your breath fresh too. And I always tell people, always bring a printed copy of the script no matter what. It still looks awkward reading from an iPad or your phone when you're in an audition situation. If you have nothing else, that's cool. And make sure you've got a pen to make some notes on your script because you might want to make some notes as you're waiting in the waiting room. Maybe something comes to you, want to approach something in a different way. So, or you might need a pen for signing into your audition, and people are freaky about using pens because of the pandemic and all that fun stuff. Now, there might be some small talk in a kid's audition situation because the casting director probably knows you're nervous, and they're going to try to break the ice to help you relax. Remember, it's in his or her best interest to cast the best person possible for the role, and you can't do your best work when you're super nervous, right? So small talk just might give you the opportunity to really shine and win them over. So what is this small talk? It's talking about, I don't know, the weather, your hobbies, your favorite restaurant, maybe your favorite book, movie, or character. It's safe, innocuous, innocent talk that enables the casting director. They're really going to be listening for the tone of your voice and your enunciation. So even though it all sounds pretty chill, don't be fooled. This is part of your audition, okay? So be colorful, be involved, be excited, be really into and passionate about whatever you're talking about. They like that. Some engaged small talk might actually sound something like this. My favorite restaurant in the whole world is Olive Garden. I just love their salads. I always ask for extra olives and peppers too. And the people in there are always so nice. And those breadsticks, OMG, they are to die for. So yummy. I could eat those 5 times a day. Have you tried them? So just an example of just being involved and being peppy and being upbeat. They like to see that. People like to hang out with upbeat people. All right, so in the real world, just before actors and voice actors record their lines, they will probably do something called slate. And an in-person audition, even for a voice acting gig, they'll probably set up a camcorder on a tripod and they'll record your slate and your audition. So just know that that's completely normal, even a voice acting situation. People make such a big fuss about slating, but it's really no big deal. Basically, all you do is say your name, maybe your age, and where you're from. Be you, but be happy and super perky. People gravitate towards perky people. Smile a lot. You can actually hear a smile in a voice. Think about something happy, like a happy place. Maybe your best friend. Maybe Christmas. Great slate might sound something like this. Hi, my name is Abby Normal. I'm 8 years old and I live in Buffalo, Kentucky. It's a really wonderful place to grow up. Something along those lines. So the name, how old you are, and maybe where you live. And maybe just a little something else. You don't want to do it too long because that's annoying. So remember, say your slate with massive, but not cocky confidence. Be proud of your name. It's yours. And again, don't go too long. Keep it short but sweet, but be as happy as a clam. Is a clam really happy? Oh, no, never mind. Rehearse and practice your slate again. And record yourself and watch the video. Critique yourself. And make changes to make your slate even better. Soon it'll be like, you'll know it like the back of your hand. I've never seen that before. And always look directly into the lens of the camera when you're slating. So this way they can see your eyes. Know you're looking directly at them. They like to see that. That shows confidence. So casting directors typically review the videos before choosing their actors. And those who look directly into the camera appear to be staring directly at the viewer. That's much more powerful than someone looking off to the side. Then you'll read your lines after you're done your slate. It's really quick. You're like, hey, my name's Chuck Fresh, and I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm 20 years old. And right into your lines right after that. It's better if you've memorized them, but again, don't worry if you haven't. Reading with emotion is totally cool for voice actors. Step into the moment at this point. Live the scene. Be the character. And the confidence will ensure that you're not afraid to look silly, because you're going to look silly at some point. And that's totally cool. You're supposed to look silly. Then you'll come to your last line. You'll go through your whole audition, however long or short it is. And this is where professional actors do something called buttoning the scene. And the end of an audition is always just kind of awkward because the scene just ends. The camera is still rolling and no one says anything. There's no cut. There's nobody moving around. They're just kind of staring at you blankly. It's just awkward. So you might be thinking, okay, what do I do now? So you can say, yeah, thanks, whatever. But you can avoid that awkward moment by adding your own, it's called a button. You can control the scenario and add your own rehearsed ending. It's not another line or a forced reaction. It's simply your natural, real-life reaction to however the script lines ended. It's a little bit of acting. It could be as simple as a cheeky smile after endorsing a product in a commercial situation. It could be a sigh or a sniffle if it's a sad ending, like, and then my dog ran away. A button, something that kind of finishes it off and ends it. It could be a shocked look or a gasp if that's what the situation calls for. And then I get hit by lightning. Something like that. A little extra something that to the end of it that really drives it home, that shows that you're totally in to the script that you were told to read. You're acting. It shows you're acting. It's really not that difficult and it's not that complicated, but people make a big fuss over the slate and also the button. But by not, if you don't button it and you leave the scene hanging and you allow the awkward silent ending, it's not going to go well because they're going to say, well, that was kind of awkward. They're going to remember the people who button things down, do that little extra oomph at the end, and you get a better chance of scoring the role. And you'll show the casting director that you're a professional, you're truly awesome, and you're super confident and you're the right person for the role. So practicing your slate and your small talk, again, just as important as the audition itself. And people like to work with people that they like. It's just a human trait. And remember to button your scene at the end. Figure out something, some kind of natural reaction. It can be a visual reaction. It should be a visual and audible reaction, like, or something that just kind of just brings it home. And then thank them, and then you just walk out of the room, and it's all over. And then they call your momager, and you've got the role, and then you're famous and rich. Or not necessarily in that order. All right. So one more reason voice acting is a great gig. And a lot of people know this, and a lot of people want to do it. And there's a lot of competition. A lot. So even if you nail your slate, your small talk, and your audition, you've got to realize that the other people auditioning might have nailed it too. They might have a great slate. They might have excelled at small talk. They may have buttoned it. So you'll need that one more reason for the casting director to choose you over everyone else. So what might your one more reason be? Well, it could be anything. If you can sing, let them know. Maybe sing a little piece of it on your way out, or maybe not. It really depends on the situation. If you're not supposed to sing, probably you shouldn't sing, but let them know that you can sing, maybe in your small talk. And you can ask them if they'd like to hear a little sample, if applicable, for the role, and then completely crush it. Can you dance like a crazy backup dancer? Let them know. Have you taken improv classes and done stand-up? Make them laugh. If you play any instruments really well, or excel at a sport or a hobby or a stupid human trick, or even won the science fair with your quantum molecular food printer, what? People will remember these things. So even if you didn't score this role, they'll remember that you stood out for some reason, and they'll recommend you for other roles, or maybe something in the future. So versatility can give that director one more reason to choose you. Oh, and even if you're auditioning for a voice acting role, always try to dress the part. I mean, if you're auditioning for a geeky role, dress geeky. Wear fake glasses or a wig. If you're auditioning to be a prep or a cheerleader, dress like a prep or a cheerleader. It'll show the casting director that you're willing to do whatever you have to do to get their role done perfectly. And again, even if you never want to be anything other than a voice actor, definitely get a professional headshot done and leave one or two, maybe sometimes two at the audition. It helps the casting director match the face to your voice. And because you never know what big-time TV show might fall into hers or her lap, and they might need somebody who looks exactly like you. So you never know where this could lead. All right, the last for this episode, I know we're going kind of long, to union or not to union? That is the question. Now, unions are awesome. You have guaranteed minimum pay and residual checks sometimes years later, limited overtime hours and overtime pay. Even benefits like medical and retirement. Doesn't mean a whole lot to a kid, but trust me, down the road it will. The thing is, production companies today are looking to cut costs, and the first thing they do is opt for non-union talent. The pay isn't as good, but right now there's a whole lot more opportunities for non-union work, and as you're starting out, you definitely want to stay non-union because it'll build more auditions and more practice for you. And later on, I mean, if things are rolling along and you're doing really well, you can go union. You can always change that later on. So, we've covered a lot of stuff here. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to give you a couple of scripts, well, a couple of short scripts, and we can practice our slates and our buttons. We're not going to do small talk this week because that's kind of weird. You could do that with somebody else, with your parents maybe, or some friends of the family, but because it's kind of weird doing it, like when it's not really small talk, you know what I mean? But you'll get good at that. I'm confident you will. But let's do a couple of these scripts, and you can slate at the beginning, do the script, and then button at the end. And then record yourself. And if you'd like, share it with the class. You can send me a link to it, or you can keep it to yourself and just watch it yourself. If you're not ready to share it with the world, that's totally cool. Or you can share it with me individually, and I'll take a look at it with my people and give you some ideas, maybe some things you could do better, and I'll let you know if you completely nailed it. Some people nail it their first time right out of the box. So this is week 1. Again, thank you. We got a lot to cover. We got week 2, 3, and 4. A lot of information to cover. If you're watching this on a video, watch it again. You may need to see it a couple of times for everything to kind of sink in. There's a lot of really good stuff here. And again, thank you for taking the class. And I look forward to hearing what you're going to do as a professional voice actor. Chuck Fresh, I'm out.